Hi, I'm Annika. I am here with Maggie. Maggie, why don't you introduce yourself and then if you could give a brief summary of your current role and your primary responsibilities.
Yeah, so glad to be sitting here with you. I've seen these done a few times. My husband actually had done one previously, so I was like, ooh, like let me watch your video for some inspiration. But I'm Maggie Parker. I am Director of Partnership Strategy at the Los Angeles Chargers. So that role really is partnership marketing in short form. So essentially what that means is I'm responsible for working with our roster of amazing partners and brands and bringing their sponsorship to life through the lens of the Los Angeles Chargers. And so we work through different marketing platforms, whether that be social, digital, email, web, or anything relative to that sort of space. A lot of our partners are really interested in community and philanthropy. So there's a lot of community work that we do that's important to us as an organization, but also aligns with a lot of goals and objectives of our partners. And there's a lot of fun stuff that we do relative to hospitality and some activations around SoFi Stadium or otherwise.
Awesome. That sounds so exciting.
Yeah, no, I like have a pinch me moment every day.
Right. All right. Do you want to maybe go into some key lessons that you've learned either working specifically for the Chargers or just working in the sports industry in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think something that just continues to come up time and time again, whether that be at networking events or at Super Bowl or at these big industry events like National Sports Forum, I'm just constantly reminded about how small and close knit our community is in this industry. And so, some key lessons that I've learned that I think are really helpful are just like your net worth is really based on your network. And, I can't emphasize that enough. And I'm sure it's said a million times and it's redundant. And people are probably like, oh, like, I can't believe another one is saying it. But it's just so true. And, one thing that I think really sets people apart is the intention behind reaching out to people on LinkedIn or on email or what have you, and just saying, like, this was impressive about something your organization did, or like narrowing in on that specific individual.
Yeah.
Just being really, really conscious of what you're interested in and finding people who are in that space who do that and trying to align and try to, coordinate calendars, which I know is really difficult. But something that I've learned, especially now as I've grown in my career, is that people want to help. And so, as a director, I definitely take a moment to think, OMG, I can't believe that this is happening. And again, back to the pinch me sort of, this is reality at this point, but it's one of those things where I have to pay it forward. And I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for other women or if it weren't for other people in the industry who gave me an opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's about, helping each other see their potential. And so keep your people close in this industry because it's one of those things where I promise you it all comes back in fivefold, but it's one of those things where just build your network as best you can and just know that people are willing to help and people want to help.
Yeah. I was actually just talking to another lady who was talking about being a woman in the sports world, which can definitely be
Yeah.
challenging at some points. But she kind of said a similar
Yeah,
thing. She's just always looking out for people to kind of increase the diversity within her organization, but also
for
just
sure.
lifting women up, I'm sure is definitely
Yeah.
a trend for you as well.
Yeah, no, big fan. I have a Bet on Women t-shirt right now as it's Women's Empowerment Month, and I'm like, let's go, ladies.
Right.
Um, so it's all about paying it forward, like I said, especially for, other women who are just breaking into the industry and are like, hey, I don't know where I see
Yeah.
myself in this because, it's often dominated by men, but there is plenty of opportunity. So it's all about being there for one another.
Awesome. All right. Do you want to maybe share one or two main highlights from your sports career?
Ooh, one or two. That's like the best part about this business is like there's so many highlights, right? Like it's just there's a lot of things that are exciting, whether it be some of those big events that I was talking about. But I'll share two brief ones. Like when I was in school, I went to Ohio University and I was like pretty convinced that I had my whole life planned out, right? Like I was just so like diligent on planning and this and that. And my life sort of turned upside down a little bit when plans didn't really work out. And so I sort of hit the drawing board and hit marker at a whiteboard and ended up at GMR Marketing, which is an experiential agency that handles a lot of sports business. And I ended up on the Procter and Gamble business where I was working on the Olympics.
Oh,
And I'm a 22-year-old kid who had just graduated from college and I had no idea up from down. But I was working on the Thank You Mom campaign. And essentially, what that is where an athlete has an opportunity to thank their mom through just competing on the world's biggest stage. And it was one of the most impactful programs in my career. And I think arguably PNG is one of the best to do it. And so having the opportunity to learn from them was like just an unbelievable moment. And from there, I was like, how do I go from here? Like, how do you then take an Olympic experience and do anything cooler than that? Fast forward a few years, and I was working at the Golden State Warriors, and my whole job was focused on opening Chase Center alongside naming rights partner JP Morgan Chase. And the friendships, the progress, just the ability to work on that project and the ability to influence something that is tangible that you can see in a city like San Francisco is a memory that I'll never forget. But it was one of those things where I was like, I just can't believe that this experience is possible. And it was a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours, but seeing Chase Center open for the first night, September 6th, 2019 with Metallica was arguably one of the biggest highlights of my life for sure.
that seems hard to beat for sure.
Yeah. What's next?
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. All right, well, you kind of touched on a little bit sort of being 22 and what that's like, sort of entering, especially the sports world, because I feel like there's so many different directions or ways to get involved. So, what advice would you offer to college students or recent graduates that are similarly pursuing a career in sports?
I would just say two things. One, you're not supposed to have everything figured out. You know, as I mentioned, like I was so young and I thought that I had everything planned, right? Like I was this kid from Cincinnati, Ohio. I was like, I'm gonna go work at, I think it was the San Francisco 49ers at the time, and that was just the dream. And it ended up not working out. And so I went to GMR in Charlotte, North Carolina, ended up working on the Olympics. And should I not have been open to opportunity, that would have never happened for me. And so it's one of those things where careers aren't linear. You know, it's not one of those things where like, oh, you do this and this happens. Oh, you do that, then this happens. The sports industry is such a unique way of working out, and one relationship might open a door for you, and you might find yourself working at the Los Angeles Chargers. Who knows? It's one of those things where it doesn't have to be exactly what you intended, and you learn from things positive or negative, and that shapes you so much in either direction. So I think just show yourself some grace and ask questions. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to, you know, look silly, right? Like this is the time to like really understand who it is, you know, that you are and what motivates you to get up in the morning. You know, and then I just think that it's important also too to like try new things, just be open, right? So like when I thought I was working in the NFL after college and I ended up in an agency, I had to ask this person who was willing to connect me to GMR, like, what is an agency? I have no idea. You know, I have no idea what that even means. What do they do? So it just was one of those things where I was pretty just like focused on one singular opportunity. And then when I broadened my horizon, I was like, wow, this is a sport. And, you know, this is an industry that has so many opportunities available to me. So don't feel like you have to have it figured out right now. Time will tell, but just continue to stay hungry and stay motivated and stay positive. And then the second thing is you have to be passionate about this industry. You know, like it's, like I said, it's a long journey. It is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And if you're not motivated and you're not excited and you're not inspired by what you're doing, then it's probably not the right thing for you. And that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's great advice to hear as somebody who's graduating in 2 months.
Yeah, that's so exciting.
Figuring it out.
You
Still,
got
like
this.
you said,
You
not
got
sure
this.
where the path is leading, but
Yeah.
thank you so much, Maggie. It was so nice to meet you. So much great advice and lessons for everyone.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it. And excited for next season with Los Angeles Chargers. So be on the lookout. But thanks for having me. This was great.
All right. Well, so nice to meet you.